Hello and a very warm welcome back to another day on my plot. It's Sunday morning, as is traditional. We spent Friday and Saturday with my mum, which was nice, but today I'm back on the plot. It's early. Oh my god, it's early, to coin Robin Williams, and I've got all day, and I hope later today I'll be joined by the master picker that is my long-haired Sergeant Major. She may have she will have our grandson with us. We've been babysitting him the weekend while my daughter and son-in-law had a weekend childless. So as the sun rises on this wet and miserable Sunday morning, the weather has been hot. You know, I don't like to complain because we spent months with wet and miserable weather, but it has been hot, and this morning it's not. It's a very cool, drizzly morning. It's set to dry up for the day, but yes, I'm hoping she'll join me to carry on picking. We've got lots to pick. It's now the picking season. I've got lots and lots of peas I need to get picked and podded. The blackcurrants, we do like the blackcurrants. They're an extremely useful crop. You know, they're not something we eat on their own. They're very tart, but they do bulk up our fruit smoothies, our crumbles in the winter. My mum makes jam. In fact, Cheryl makes jam with it. So yeah, lots to do today, and it's all starting to look a little bit ragged. There's a lot of weeds coming through the path. It happens every year. I've learned to live with it. I don't get worried about it. They die down in the winter. And of course, you know, I'd love to have the time up here to do all the cosmetic stuff, but you know, I still work, so I don't. So I concentrate on gathering in the fruits and vegetables that it takes so long and so much effort to grow. You're very welcome. I would like to say right now to my Commonwealth cousins, happy Canada Day, which is July the 1st, if I'm right. That's Monday. Today is Sunday, but I think this video will go out on Canada Day. I remember canoeing in a group of other military personnel across a lake when we were canoeing the Petawawa River, which is a famous river, and it's a stunning river. The rapids are incredible, and we were on a training course, and coming towards us, going the opposite way, upriver, as a lot of Canadians tend to. It's in their genes. That's how Canada was explored by the Western people, was using the waterways, and they had to go upriver as much as down. And he came past our group of 20 odd canoes and shouted out, "Happy Canada Day!" And it was July the 1st, none of us knew. So yes, happy Canada Day to those Ali and others that watch. Welcome along. There's no doubt that all the time I've had this allotment, which is 8 years now, I've been a self-employed gardener, and it has helped in so many ways. And one of the most profitable ways is when I cut people's hedges. If time and the situation allows, the bits that drop off, the trimmings, I mow up. And when you put them through the mower, cool, you can feel the heat. It makes one, in fact, if I open it up, you might even get a bit of steam. Crikey, that is extremely hot in there, and they've been in the van over the weekend. And this all goes on my compost heap, and it makes fantastic compost. So I've got 4 bags of it, so let's get them on the compost heap. Well, I've mentioned before that as I develop my skills as an allotmenteer, one of the things I've worked at and made a priority is having the next crop ready when a gap appears. So, got some chard here on the left, and then some more spring onions, because we are now starting to crop our salad potatoes, and we use the spring onions to make potato salad. And although there's not that many in that tray, it wasn't a very good germination rate, they're better than nothing. So they'll go in as we take out the spring onions to go with the potatoes. Although the cut flower bed isn't really working as I thought it would, and that's my own fault, I have to say the plot is still filled with colour. The verbena is particularly pleasurable, but now the dwarf cosmos is starting to flower, and that will put on a great display, I would hope, as will these old galvanised watering cans, etc. around the gate, the hanging baskets on the shed, and that stunning dahlia. Well, these two cucumbers couldn't look more poorly. They're meant to be grown in a greenhouse, they're not outdoor variety, but I had these two left over, and I don't throw plants away, and they look pretty ragged. But as you can see, there is a cucumber on one of them at least. I have quite a lot of cucumbers developing in the greenhouse, and of course they're well in advance, but rather than throw these two away, I'm very pleased. At least I'll get one cucumber, if no more. And this is the bed you saw me take the garlic out of last weekend. That's still at home drying, ready for storing. And this week I planted the swede, which again I've been growing. It was sown on the 24th of May and it was planted this week. And of course it's best of all, and it's not a clubroot resistant variety, and I do have clubroot, or we have it on this site. So whilst I put lime in the planting holes, there is a very good chance that these don't make it, but I'm prepared to take the risk. And as I do every week, I have been tying in and side shooting the tomatoes. It's a lot of work, but I've said it before, it's worth every bit of it when we crop the tomatoes, which last us all year. We are still taking tomato sauces out of the freezers. Again, a replacement crop. This is where another bed of garlic was, and I had beetroot ready to go, and so the ground was dormant for a matter of days. And the purple cabbages, Killerton, is it? No, Ladero, clubroot resistant. They've not been touched by anything. Purple is the colour. And today is all about peas. I shall be taking a big picking of peas today, hopefully, and get those in the freezers this afternoon, this evening. The pumpkins are forming. Very happy with that. My experience is with all squashes that the first fruit that set rot off. I remember being very disappointed seeing that happen a few years ago, but I've got used to it now. I don't know why it happens, but cucumbers, squashes, courgettes, it always happens. But they're looking good, and they're really starting to move now, and this recent hot spell we've had will have done them no harm whatsoever. The Java potatoes are very attractive. It's a beautiful flower. But I brought you down here to show you the peas, purple magnolia. Now these are a snap pea, but my experience, and I've grown these before, but my experience is when they are flat snap peas, they're very tasty. You can eat them raw on salads, boil them or lightly boil them for a minute, and they're sweet as hell. But that's a very fleeting moment. Within a week they start to bulk up, and then you're just looking at normal peas, there's nothing wrong with that. So it's not a criticism, it's just an observation. But when you open up these pods, inside the peas are green, just perfectly normal. They're not purple peas. So I'll be picking more of those today. And obviously there's a mutation or whatever, that some of them grow green as normal. Don't quite understand that, but I suppose, like a variegated shrub, you often find it reverts back to normal. That's what it's trying to do. So more of those will be picked today. And my wheelbarrow art installation is looking fantastic. And I think I can show you an example of what I'm talking about with the fruit rotting off. There's a very small pumpkin, and in fact it's dropped off completely. That's my experience of all squashes, that's exactly what happens, and it's nothing to be worried about. In fact, there is another one forming right up behind it, and I'm sure that one will be fine. I think we need some useless information in our lives. What killed most sailors in an 18th century sea battle? A nasty splinter. Cannonballs fired from men of wars didn't actually explode, no matter what Hollywood thinks. They just tore through the hull of the ship, causing huge splinters of wood to fly around the decks at high speed, lacerating anyone in range. And that's interesting why many officers on ships died at a much higher rate than the ordinary men, is because it was deemed dishonourable to take cover during battle, and they had to stand on the deck to show their men that they were brave and in command. And so of course they were subjected to far more splinters than the men who were hiding down behind the huge cannons they were firing. British naval ships of the period were often rotten and unseaworthy. Many of the officers had no idea how to sail, fight, or control their men. Hernias caused by manhandling acres of wet canvas were so common the Navy was forced to issue trusses. To cap it all, there wasn't a single pay rise for a century. At close range, a 32-pound ball was capable of penetrating wood up to 2 feet thick. The best way to stop splinters, other than by building a metal ship, was to use a type of wood found in the southeastern USA which resisted splintering. As well as being one of the hardest of all woods, the live oak, Quercus virginiana, is the state tree of Georgia and a symbol of strength and resistance for the southern states. It is the tree draped with long garlands of moss in films like Gone with the Wind. Wow, that is fascinating. I didn't know how bad the Royal Navy really was. Something more up to date. What illness do British doctors treat most often? A, the common cold. B, ear infections. C, depression. Or D, sleep disorders. Which do you think? Depression is the commonest illness treated by doctors in Britain, and the 4th commonest illness in the world after pneumonia, bronchitis, diarrhea and HIV/AIDS. It is estimated that up to 10% of women and 3 to 5% of men worldwide suffer from clinical, i.e. severe depression. Approximately 3.2 million people in Britain, 7%, are clinically depressed, and it's getting worse. Between 1990 and 2000, the number of prescriptions written for depression every year in the UK rose by more than 10 million. It's estimated that depression costs the UK 8 million a year through time off work, treatment costs, suicide and reduced productivity. Suicide is definitely going to reduce your productivity. This is not just a function of innate British miserabilism, I've never heard that word before, or climate. 25 million Americans, 9%, are clinically depressed at any one time. In Australia, children as young as 5 are being treated for depression. In Bangladesh, by far the commonest illness is diarrhea, followed by intestinal worm infections. But depression is widespread, particularly among women, running at about 3%. In Africa, depression is the 11th most common illness, HIV and malaria being first and second. In most developing countries, cultural suspicion of mental illness means diagnosis is difficult and symptoms are more likely to manifest themselves physically than in the West. Is the answer to depression just to walk it off? Yes. It's at least as effective as drugs. Recent research involving subjects aged 24 to 45 found that half an hour's exercise 3 to 5 times a week has the same or better effect on depression than drugs, regularly reducing symptoms by nearly 50%. Just go for a walk. It's as simple as that. That's amazing. Symptoms by 50%. You never hear that, do you? I mean, it goes on, but I won't bore you with it all, because it's all rather depressing. Yeah, fascinating stuff. I've always thought it funny when you see cannonballs explode on ships. They were just big lumps of metal. There was no explosives in them. Fascinating. You may be able to see that some of these potatoes are developing what looks suspiciously like blight to me. So the potatoes should be just about ready, I think. I'm going to cut all the top growth off so that it doesn't spread down into the tubers and ruin the crop. We've struck allotment gold. George is asleep in the car, which means the blackcurrants have her undivided attention. It's too busy eating.
Hey?
It's too busy eating. Well, a very, very acceptable harvest. Cheryl did exceptionally well with the blackcurrants, as she always does. We've got a cauliflower, lots of peas and courgettes for tea. Fantastic. Right, well, as the weather forecast promised, it has dried up. It's now quite warm. Cheryl Cheryl did extremely well picking all those punnets of blackcurrants. She always does. Charlotte is back now and reunited with George. And I'm going to go home and process all those peas and the cauliflower for tonight's tea. I've noticed that I've picked about half a dozen of those Romanesque cauliflowers now, and none of them are the tight heads that you'd expect of a cauliflower. They're sort of loose. It makes very little difference to, you know, eating them. It's just the sort of presentation. I don't know what's causing that. But every cauliflower, and I've had a couple of the white ones as well, and they've all been the same. They're all very loose, like purple sprouting broccoli, as opposed to the Calabrese, the tight head. Anyway, it's just an observation. But yeah, a good day, lots picked. The harvest is now well and truly underway. And I'm not around next weekend. Got a busy weekend next weekend. So I will see you in a fortnight. So until then, I hope you enjoy your own gardens and allotments, and I shall see you at the earliest opportunity. Thanks to all those who've subscribed, and thanks to all those who leave a comment. I always enjoy reading them. Until I see you again, look after yourselves, take care, and bye for now.